Hello, my name is Judd Conapari. I've been a chef in San Diego for the past 13 years, running some of San Diego's finest resort hotel and restaurants. I've created Vertical Restaurant to become a better steward to our natural environment, not only for my family, but families all over San Diego. Join me with some like-minded individuals as I join forces with some of San Diego's finest restaurateurs. Justin Shaw, Director of Operations for Vertical Restaurant.
Chef.
We go on this exploration of discovery in this new sustainable restaurant venture. Join us in our discovery of Vertical.
Vertical was a name chosen because of its relationship to the futuristic vertical farming. It is a powerful name that not only stands for the future of farming, but as a virtual model for sustainable dining. Vertical in many ways has a natural order in our lives. We are vertical beings. We worship vertically, we grow vertically, and we think vertically. I chose the name so that it could develop many meanings as the company grows. I can only hope that vertical takes meaning in your life.
One of the big challenges behind creating sustainability for Vertical Restaurant in order to make investment possible and sustainability possible in a restaurant format was being able to find a partner that was going to have a greenhouse big enough to be able to first and foremost have the science of aquaculture, but also have the aquaponics in the greenhouse big enough to be able to produce all of the vegetables that we're going to need to have a sustainable restaurant. This was a huge challenge. Luckily for us that we came across Grow Foods Incorporated and Zelinda, who have partnered together to create an aquaponics greenhouse, building aquaculture in a giant aquaponic facility such as this, which we're going to go in there and show you. That's going to give ultimately the depth of sustainability that we need to make Vertical viable, not just in San Diego, but all over the United States. Let's go take a look. One of the most important parts about integrating restaurants and aquaponics was to be able to find a facility large enough to be able to produce a sustainable amount of produce and fish protein in order for us to build an aquaculture large enough to not only sustain the restaurant, but have the produce to sustain the restaurants, not just for one, but for all across the nation. We found it. Zelinda and Grow Foods Incorporated, along with Vertical, are going to develop this amazing facility. Look at this, it's got to be a couple of football fields long, if not longer, filled with aquaculture and produce. Amazing. This is the start of something exciting.
Grow Foods Incorporated is the cutting-edge science and development of aquaponics. Its unparalleled understanding of aquaponic technology places it among very few companies at the precipice of national recognition for its sustainable science and integration. Its commercial farming model could set the standards for future eco-responsible farming in American culture. Vertical's relationship with Grow Foods is an integral component to Vertical Restaurant's future expansion and aquaponic development.
I would like to introduce you to Robert Zach, CEO and founder of Grow Foods Incorporated. Robert, thanks a lot for having me up here to your research and development facility for Grow Foods. Tell us a little bit more about the expertise and what you're doing here.
Well, thank you. Thanks for coming. We have a complete R&D facility where we're testing different ways of using aquaponics and methods of growing fish and growing crops. And we're going to go back there and we're going to show you what we're doing and feed the fish. And
so there's all kinds of different techniques and technology that goes into this. It's not just simply putting an aquaculture together with some plants, tomatoes, or whatever you might want to have, and then having it come out and be perfect. So there's a lot of intricate development going on here that's trying to make it more sustainable, more viable. Explain a little bit of that before we look at it.
Right. It's not a really difficult science. It's something that's been around for thousands and thousands of years. Fish and plants get together, and fish create something that plants like, and plants do something that the fish like them to do, which is basically the fish creates waste. The plants like the waste that they create. They clean the waste out of the water, and then the water is put back in the tank so that it's nice clean water for the fish. So in that process, that's 100% natural, sustainable method of growing food. You're not using any fertilizer or chemicals in that process.
Right. And a lot of that theory and a lot of that understanding, it really kind of spurred me to do some research of my own. And this is where I came up with the whole vertical mentality. And to me, it's really about the vertical way of thinking. It's the vertical way we stand. It's the vertical way we believe. It's the vertical way that this can potentially grow. Not necessarily confined to a bed environment on the ground needing soil, but we could literally bring the gardens off the ground and have them grow up towards the sky. And really, this is the hinging factor behind vertical and why we chose that name.
So your idea is actually putting a farm like in the restaurant?
We are absolutely going to put an aquaculture, aquaponics farm right in the restaurant. People are going to be able to see the food they're eating, and it'll be surrounding them.
That's
but
cool.
we can talk all about it. The only way they're really going to get a good perspective on what we're doing and how we're going to do it is to go look at some of your research and development.
Okay, well, let's go on back here. Let's show you around.
Let's take a look.
I'd like to introduce you to Chris Haynes.
Chris.
Nice to meet you, Jeff.
Pleasure. Pleasure's mine.
President of Grow Foods Gardens, and he's going to show you around and take you on a tour.
So Chris, show me how Grow Foods Incorporated is going to help Vertical One revolutionize the restaurant scene.
Absolutely. Come on over. These are our primary grow beds here at the research facility here in San Marcos. Testing out a number of different mediums or substrates, different types of soil. We have everything from clay pellets to rubber to gravel, to this system is called a raft system, where there's no soil at all, just pure water. Some different combinations of them, testing out which substrates or mediums work best, and then we'll figure out, depending on what you're wanting to grow, figure out the exact medium for that product.
And we already have some beautiful vegetables and growing in here already.
Absolutely.
What is this? Explain this to me.
Well, Judd, this is actually 100% recycled rubber tires. So it's completely green, sustainable, it's recycled, it's very porous, so it allows us to run water through it very often.
That's incredible. And what do we have? What are these beautiful
This particular
purple
bed is actually red cabbage.
Fantastic. And I noticed right here, right up above us, which has the same sort of medium. This goes along the lines of how your research and development is really coming through. This is a mix. What is the mix
Correct.
here?
This is, I believe this bed is pure the rubber. This bed is more of a 50-50 part rubber, part soil. So we get a different mix of micronutrients from the soil. This bed, we have different types of fancy lettuces. I know that's romaine. Don't remember the names of those two, but several different varieties of fancy lettuce.
Red romaine and green romaine.
I believe so.
Looks like a red oak. Fantastic. Look at how beautiful this is. How old are these plants?
At most a month and a half.
Less
than that, I think.
Fantastic. In the backyard here, and basically I noticed that you have this huge pond hooked up to the aquaponics system as well. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
What kind of fish do we have in here?
We have fancy koi. We could do goldfish. You could do a food that's a product as well, a food fish, like tilapia if you wanted.
Right.
We have decorative fish in here right now.
And this just goes to show how we can put an environment like this either outdoor or indoor. This could be an indoor environment as well.
Absolutely. You can have it in your restaurant as an aquarium or as an in-ground pond.
Beautiful. Hey, Chris, I also noticed that you had a greenhouse here. Can we integrate greenhouse into the restaurant and part of the aquaponics systems and everything like that?
Absolutely. You could have a greenhouse directly in your restaurant. You could have it near the restaurant. Your customers could pick out exactly what they want. If it's outdoors, the benefit of a greenhouse is that it's separated from the weather, from bugs, insects, little children, whatever need be. But it's separate, it's isolated. Yeah. But you can have it in your restaurant, near your restaurant.
So the customers can go right into Vertical's in-restaurant gardens or outside the restaurant gardens, pick their food, bring it back to their table.
Chef will cook it.
Basically, and the chef can prepare it.
Absolutely.
Or I can prepare it for
there you go.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Chris.
Absolutely, Judd.
Absolutely.
The vertical business model makes more dollars than cents, because we have the ability to control variables that in a traditional restaurant model depend on marketing conditions. Crop failure, weather conditions, produce recalls, salmonella outbreaks, transportation and commerce interruptions have an effect on our cost of goods. Vertical's business model places these controls directly in the hands of Vertical's restaurant partners that have no affiliation to commercial industry or international commerce. Vertical and its partners control fish and vegetable distribution and have the ability to set costs of its products. These products are anything from Vertical tomato sauce to Vertical wine, farm-based bass to smoked salmon. The fish affluent is the natural resource that has replaced the cost associated with the use of gas, coal, and oil in the commercial production of fish and vegetable. This resource provides a free fertilizer that expedites plant growth. In one example, a standard head of lettuce that typically grows to maturity in 3 months takes 24 days in an aquaponics system.
Here we have an example of aquaponics farming happening right here at Aquafarms Tech. Down here we have an incredible wild decorative cabbage growing right here in one of their little aqua tanks. Look at the beautiful root system, and look at how shallow the root system is too, and how beautiful and big and green that plant is. Fantastic, and there's got to be thousands of them here. Just one example of what could be done in aquaponics.
The versatility of the aquaponics system design can create an urban location that has minimal transportation requirements. Aquaponics also provides organic fish and vegetables with a greater nutritional value that in turn can demand a greater market price. The cost of this integration is placed on the consumer and not the vertical business model. Traditional organic farming is a perfect example of an industry's failure to launch because of the costs associated with production and distribution being placed inordinately on the business as well as the consumer. The further development of more efficient aquaponic farming will directly decrease the cost of Vertical's produce. This will then offset the price of 100% organic produce to the consumer, making it a true integration in sustainability with the ability to compete against commercial farming. We can then develop vertical restaurants and farmers markets nationally and internationally. Even in this initial model, it's difficult not to see why it makes more dollars and cents. Vertical is now. Vertical is the start to truly sustainable restaurants. We have the ability to produce most all vegetables, from cabbage, beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers of all kinds, herbs, carrots, corn, onions, leafy greens, leeks, hops, strawberries, even bananas, and papayas and mangoes. The fish that can grow in these systems are tilapia, perch, barramundi, trout, catfish, bass, salmon, Arctic char, and even shrimp. Trust me, if this brings you a moment of pause, it will bring you to your knees when you see it for yourself. Vertical is a restaurant created out of great compassion and desire to preserve our natural environment and to ensure the health of our planet. We have chosen food as a connection between us and nature. We acknowledge this connection as a basis for health and peace within the individual body, which then extends to the community and on and on.
If there was any question whether Vertical was going to be able to have a sustainable source of fresh fish for Vertical One and all future Vertical restaurants, Aqua Farming Tech is the solution. Just look behind me. Dozens of fish farming beds filled with beautiful organic tilapia, retrofitted for aquaponics. Fields and fields of vegetables being grown for our restaurant.
The science of aquaponics has come a long way since its conception dating back to the Ming Dynasty. It is because of these hyper-eco-sensitive times that aquaponics science has taken some giant leaps forward. The mastery of aquaculture and the integration of cutting-edge growing mediums and aquaponic systems have made an unabashed power move towards the most sensible and sustainable commercial growing practices in modern times. Aquaponics uses no growth hormone or fertilizers to bring size and brilliance to its vegetables. Nature takes care of it as it was intended. Natural fish fertilizers and healthy water circulation provided by aquaponics are all the necessary components for 100% organic fish and vegetables. 98% water retention in the aquaponic system needs only additional water due to evaporation. An endless supply of aquaponics naturally occurring affluent assures an inexhaustible supply of vegetables for vertical restaurants and its farmers markets.
Aquafarms Tech, Grow Foods Incorporated, and Vertical, bringing the wave of conscientious cuisine, sustainability to San Diego and beyond. We're going to check out some fish now. Come on with me. Look at here, we just pulled these babies right out of the water. I gotta be careful because there's a potential you can get stung by one of their little spines. And these are jumpers. This thing wants to leap out of my hand big time. Look at how beautiful that fish is. Big, juicy, and delicious. Ready to go right on the vertical barbecue. Incredible, look at these babies. Some are a little bit bigger than the others, some are a little bit smaller. Growing right here at the farm.
The inspiration behind the name Vertical was to create a dining experience that reflects traditions and cuisine that have been passed down through the generations. Memories of these timeless traditions, combined with the passion for food, has spawned the Vertical Revolution. Out of compassion for our children's future and our environmental awareness, Vertical was created as an evolution of sustainable restaurants. Vertical is an educational, living aquaculture and garden serving 100% sustainable organic fish and vegetables. I have coined it as conscientious cuisine. Vertical is the first of its kind. It completely integrates aquaponics into a restaurant. Vertical's gardens are a physical manifestation of the circle of life, brilliant rainbow shards, vibrant greens, herbs, and vegetables, all growing harmoniously within an aquaculture set in a restaurant environment. It is this natural balance that is at the core of vertical restaurants. Whatever you choose to call it, slow food, farm to table, or sustainable, Vertical is the embodiment of this desire to preserve our natural environment. I created Vertical so that we could continue to pass the love of all foods to generations to come. We start today to live our lives vertically. I remember, as a child, walking through my grandfather's gardens, surrounded by fruiting plants and giant leafy greens and flowers. The smell is what is most prevalent in my recollection. Rich earth and sweet tones of ripening tomatoes and peppers, the smell of fresh herbs as you brushed by, almost a sense of connection with life around you. The sounds of moving water and the sparkling of the sunshine dancing off the morning dew, a sun-soaked wooden table with wrought iron chairs, placed near a shaded tree seemingly growing from the garden itself. Weathered woods and gold-flake garnet stones line the pathways in all directions. Decaying brick and plaster, stone tile, all in smooth concert. The smell of turning wine from an old barrel and the warm waft of fresh baked bread. Faint sounds of the local team playing on the radio and the clanking of pots and pans from the kitchen. I always felt like if you rounded the corner, there would be another project about to commence. Preparing chicken for the roast or crushing fruits and grapes for wine, pasta hanging on dry racks. I want Vertical to be as timeless as these memories. I want Vertical to be the place of gathering for the holidays and a place to raise our glasses. It'll be a place where the food is fresh and the food is wholesome. I want it to be the place, the welcoming home that you remember and keep coming back to.